so much to do, but once I kick in, I'll.
Hooray! Hi, everyone. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for coming. Okay, so here we are. April 22nd somehow. And we're going to kick off our meeting with attendance. I'll kick us off. We'll go around the room and then we can touch base with our online folks. I'm Amanda Polly.
Jen Amador.
Christopher McMorrin.
Diane Crocker.
Jane Sherwood.
Kyle Cup. Phil Workman.
Who we got online?
Oh, Zena Allen.
And Jenna, can you hear us okay?
And yep, Jenna Fisher. I'm here too.
From Rose, but I know Jessica will not be here. So, all right. Well, again, welcome. Very exciting. Got some sunshine outside. Our first item of business, we're going to approve the minutes from last month. Anybody have any edits or updates or errors they would like corrected? Right, well, we're going to call those good then, approve those minutes. Does anyone have any urgent business they want to bring up that's not on the agenda before we jump in? Rolling right along. We're going to be done in 15 minutes.
You just jinxed us.
Sorry. Okay, so the first item on our old business agenda is our age-friendly communities. I know that we talked last month about organizing an event, which was sort of dependent on some outside variables. So I wanted to check in with Jane and Diane, see if y'all had any plans.
We have plans.
We have plans.
We have plans. June 10th at 10 a.m. It's a Tuesday. The library is reserved, the room there. We have we've only spoken on the phone, but we've decided to make it a general feedback type thing. We want input and guidance from the seniors in the community that come. And do they want educational resources? Do they want walking events or meetup events at the music in the park? Or do they want to play games? Or are they busy and they don't need one more thing on their calendar? Those sort of things. So we're looking for those sorts of things. Jane's working with the AARP on finding some handouts and some information, some hard information about senior needs, but we've got some contacts to the community right now that we have possibilities of guest speakers and some things that we can bring in. The whole plan for June 10th is to find out where people are and get their ideas, because through our study through AARP was pushed really hard to listen to your seniors, find out what they need. And we have some invitations. We're going to pass out some invitations probably at our May meeting. We'll have a few for you if you have any specific seniors you have in mind. But we were just told that the library desk was being asked by some seniors for some help with cell phones and stuff like that. So we're thinking we should make a flyer for this event and put it at the library at the desk. And when somebody comes up and asks for help, they can pass that out and say, this is what we're offering. We don't have a budget. We have, we're trying to do things on the low key, and we're planning tea and cookies for the first one, just to try to make it a relaxed and friendly event. we know people from different, I don't know what to say about that, different groups around the community that are of the age, and some people are quite active and some people are not. They stay home a lot. So trying to get a cross section, I guess, is what we're trying to say, of seniors in our community to give the feedback. Does that sound right? And let me see it. We just said, in addition to the invitations, we're going to put in a little slip of paper that says, we are part of a group exploring needs and wants of seniors in our community. We would love to get your input and ideas. Please join us for a senior brainstorming session on June 10th at 10 a.m. at the Philomath Community Library. This is you getting started at the grassroots stage. Let us know if we can make it. So just super basic, and we were just saying some of the educational things like cell phone help and fraud and oh my gosh, there's so many, but I can't think of Medicare and signing up for different things. We know people that can come in and talk to those or help. They're not all of them, like we're thinking high school honor society come in and help with some of that cell phone type thing, but they're not professionals, but they sure do know a lot more than most seniors. So we would make a list of the educational opportunities that we have thought up, and if they have others, we could put those down. Then let them come up with different categories, whether it's, sometimes they would come to music in the park, but they're by themselves, they don't want to go by themselves. So if we said, well, you see the park on this date, and then they could come or the chili cook-off, or the whatever the community events are that's happening, if we at least put out the invitation to them, maybe they would feel more encouraged to come.
I love that.
We could do a community meal one of the nights too. That would be a good one.
Is there anything that the committee can do to support you all in that?
I don't know. I mean, at the moment, I think we have everything we need.
We're rolling right now with just the ideas, and here at the beginning, like I said, we don't really have a budget. We're going to try to take care of it with what we have. I don't know, and I would hate to, but if this becomes a regular monthly, bi-monthly event, again, something we would decide at the meeting. We could have a budget for cookies and tea. That might be good. Right now, we're good. We're just searching right now to find out what's up.
Zena, you got your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. So again, this is simply for seniors, not seniors and people with disabilities, correct?
The absolute emphasis is seniors, people over, we haven't even defined a senior, so we'll pretend it's over 55. I think, yeah, the older you get, the more isolated you get, unless you've got family around. So I'm thinking that might be more the target, but we would never turn anybody away, like I said. But absolutely, the focus is on senior living, because that's, I think, a different basket of needs, maybe, than disabilities. There are some crossovers, definitely, but
I just, again, as a person living with disabilities, with a home care worker who doesn't have access to a car, dealing with, again, the same kind of isolation and problems and trying to find information, it's a lot of the same stuff. And so I can understand, again, having this branch out to, again, having, senior certain things, but I think that, I guess I'm just trying to say, in the spirit of inclusivity, putting an age limit on it, I know that there are so many people, veterans and other people in our community that face these kinds of problems too, living with disabilities. So I understand. I just wanted to make that clear.
Are you aware of transportation options for people with disabilities to get to a meeting like this? I mean, that was one of the hurdles that we talked about. Are
I'm
there
not, I mean, I
in the
normally
community?
ask somebody. It's normally
That's-
Christopher.
He might have a job.
Because the only way I could get to a meeting would be to take the last bus, which comes through, take it all the way through Corvallis, and then get there. My home care worker only works till 3. These kinds of, again, yeah.
Well, this is at 10 in the morning.
Yeah, so it's easy to get to.
Yeah, and we're kind of trying, we didn't say that, trying to limit it to maybe an hour, and like, we're not trying to make it a long, but a quick to start with, at least to see how things go. Yeah. I could see us maybe trying to do a group of disabilities and trying to find some sort of transportation options, and then maybe joining the 2 groups once we've gotten some sort of establishment of, because when you talk about the loneliness, I understand that, absolutely. I also, I make assumptions, and I apologize, this is not the place to make assumptions, but people over 60 have a lot more difficulty with their cell phones than people under 60, for the most part. For example, there's an example. Medicare would only be an issue for people over 65. I don't know.
I guess I'm just trying to say, for me, again, I do face those same issues. I have to You're gonna face a lot of the same issues with dealing with healthcare, having caseworkers not being able to, as I have shown, manage. Again, I'm a terrible millennial. Emails, things like that, having people to help you do that. I'm just saying,
Yes.
um, there's a lot of things like that, and mobility and just accessibility for those kinds of things. I think that it doesn't have a bound, like it doesn't have maybe as broad. Again, if you're living with disabilities, I think it's not as big of a stretch. But again, I'm just saying, I think it would be great. We can start 2 groups. Um, I think we should just keep networking between the 2 groups, because we're going to want to do a lot of the same things. And we also want to address accessibility and inclusion for anybody that lives in our community.
There is the population that fit both. They're disabled seniors. And so I can see that as being a connection as well. And Zena, I'd be happy to come pick you up and bring you to this first meeting so that you can have input and see how it goes. We don't know. We might have 25 people there, we might have 1. And we really don't know, and that's part of what we're trying to find out. So I would certainly be happy to give you a ride there and include you, and you can be a voice for all the people with disabilities, so that the seniors and the younger ones can be perhaps reached out to. Those are wrong words, but yeah. When I'm driving, which I'm not. I will in June. Is that fair?
Oh, just thank you for the work you both are doing on this. I think this discussion just feels like sort of the pull between, casting a wide net versus having personally, I see the merits of both, but I think since you all have kind of been doing this as a senior affinity thing, that sounds great to me. And I think, you know, as it grows and evolves, we'll see how it goes, but
That's-
I really appreciate the work
This
you've
is
done.
just
on
a
that.
beginning, yeah. We'll learn more as we go.
Yeah, and just to be clear, it sounds like these events are not like age locked or anything. So if someone comes and is like, I'm 30, but I need help with my phone,
Yeah.
like, you're not going to turn them away, right?
Shut the door.
You got a 12-year-old here that's really smart. It's fun. It's almost like my 3-year-old's better than I am, but my 3-year-old grandson could, yeah.
My dad's 81, and he's like, my sister jokes that he could probably get YouTube running on a fax machine. So it's like, there's all kinds of people.
Yes, there are, yeah,
There
yeah,
are.
absolutely.
Jumbo on that, Amanda.
Does anyone have anything else to add? Any questions about this?
Need copies of
Yeah.
flyers and that stuff. We can do those at City Hall. Don't do that on your own. It's
Thank you, and
do that all under the umbrella of the inclusivity committee. So don't spend your own money on that kind of stuff.
they, I'm sorry, I got up on a different page.
Now I'm scared.
Yeah, and then if there's anything else you all need as far as,
Well, is there anybody gifted at making flyers? I mean, I can do an informational, but there's no artwork involved in mine. But, yeah,
if you need help with that, I can
I'll contact you.
help you with that. All right. That moves us along to our inclusivity committee handbook. Comments on the mission and the goals. So last month, and this is by no means meant to be the last time we ever talk about this. I feel like this is going to be one of those things that comes up as folks are, as we're talking about them, and we kind of want a collective finalization on things. But I know last month we'd had some thoughts about the wording, different ideas that folks had, and we decided that everyone was going to get up to 2 minutes to talk about the changes that they wanted to make or ideas that they had for it, just to give everybody a chance to share their thoughts, and then we could take all of that input and put it towards getting the mission and objectives piece of the handbook updated. I do have copies, paper copies here of the pages that we're going over if anyone needs one. And anybody online who doesn't, it's not in this packet, it's in the packet from the last meeting. No, you don't have to use your 2 minutes or give feedback if you don't have any. But that was more of a guideline so that if, you know, all 17 of us have something we want to share, we kind of were cognizant of time. So is there anyone who does have something that they want to share?
Just have a couple comments.
Yes.
I'll jump in first. So the mayor asked me to forward this on to the city attorney, which I've done. We had a quick conversation and talked a little bit about the makeup and the terminology, member versus voting
from
member,
the-
and
yeah.
some of that. And so she's going to look at that. Some of her initial thoughts were, yeah, I might need to clean that up a little bit. And so we'll look at that. So she's going to look. She'll make some recommendations just to make sure that it's clear. But there's a lot of latitude there. I mean, there's not like specific vocabulary we have to use or anything, but just look, make sure from a governance standpoint it makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'll pass that feedback on when I get it, but I haven't heard anything yet.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yep.
Do you have an extra one of
I
those
do.
you can have around here?
Pass that down that way, please.
I'll still state that I don't like the unlearning word, but I don't. I'm not gonna worry about it.
I'm shocked to
I'm-
hear that.
I'm over it. The third time we've discussed it. It's really not that important to me to push that, but it's just not I would like to continue learning and learning new things and learning better perhaps, but I feel like it's still learning.
I mean, and that's one of those things, I think one of the reasons we sort of discussed doing something like this is like, because as Jessica was saying, there are folks in the group who do have strong opinions about it, and then some folks who are kind of, for me, the wording doesn't really matter because but words do mean things, and so if there's a sentence that someone prefers that gets you to the same idea and wanted to share that, like, specific wording or like more tangible, like actual changes as opposed to if anybody had.
Here's my tangible, and again, I'm not gonna fight anybody on this, so do what the group wants. Fostering a safe space where learning and sharing can occur. Just leave out the unlearning part. Works for me.
That's exactly what I thought. I was like, yeah, by fostering a safe place where learning can occur. That's just, yeah, we don't need the just unlearning. And I think that counteracts the first sentence.
I would say, like, I'm fine with changing the wording, especially because it seems like people have really strong opinions in the sense that they don't like it, and I think that needs to be honored. But understanding why that was there to begin with, and perhaps including something about it, would be important to me. So the unlearning is specifically referring to unlearning about implicit bias that you might have. So saying that it's a safe place where learning and sharing can occur, and I'm about to say something that's maybe not as delicate as it could be. It feels like one of the hallmarks of liberalism, where it's like we talk about things and make us feel good, but we don't confront the things inside of us that actually need work. And if this is going to be a safe space, it has to be a safe space where we can also talk about things like this. So learning, sharing, and addressing like implicit bias or something, our own like, I don't know what exactly wording I would put for this. I've been thinking about this since the last meeting and I still don't have a clear answer. But I think we do need something that addresses that side of it as well. Because obviously learning and sharing are important and we all learn from each other, but at the same time, the point of these meetings is not to pat each other on the back and sing kumbaya, right? Like it's to actually try and do meaningful work within the community. So can we convey that better in a way that everybody likes, that we understand what the impact is and like what the mission statement is without having this like quibbling about the wording? Like, I think that's really what I walked away from the last meeting with is it's not about the wording, it's about what are we trying to say, because the objectives, like, this is going to inform people who come after us, because at some point, ideally, if this is successful, none of us will be on this committee, but it will still be going, right? So how do we set that clearly in motion for who comes after us?
Yeah, I guess.
Yes, please. Sorry, I was
No,
diligently
no,
writing.
Just, I guess, I would echo part of that, just in that, like, I don't know how much some of these specific words impact what the committee will do. Like, it's more of, like, the broad strokes, where, like, this isn't a document that's going to be, like, litigated, you know,
Right.
where it's like, the committee did this thing, and we have to take it to court, whether that was learning or unlearning that the committee did, you know, like, So I don't have super strong feelings. I do the whole unlearning thing. I hear what you're saying, but to me, like learning about implicit bias, you're still learning about it. Like it's like you're learning. Oh, I didn't realize that I had that. I learned that today. And so like I don't. It feels a little semantics to me, where it's like we all know what we're talking about. So I don't care too much, but I guess maybe I just encourage the committee, like, does it all feel like we are on the same page when we read this for what it means or not? Because I feel like that's really the take-home point of this, is just like, does this accurately convey on the whole what the committee is and should be? But yeah.
I understand exactly what it means, and I'm okay with it, and I'm just, somebody coming in new, reading it, if they don't understand, they can ask.
Dina,
Again, yeah, I get where people are coming from. So maybe fostering a safe place for learning, um, and understanding, can occur. Um, right now, again, the term unlearning, it's very prevalent, with what's happening as we see things like the Smithsonian and other things, this trying to again, um, change or rewrite or unlearn history. And so I think it should be changed because of what is happening right now and the language and terminology that are that are being used or weaponized, um, in this process. What it meant a few years ago is not what things mean now. So I think again, just being like, we're here to foster a learning and understanding of, um, you know, maybe the diverse nature of our communities and our shared history. Or I don't know. But I really do agree with what you were saying about it is important, for the people that come after us.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it sounds like the big problem we have with it is that it's just kind of an awkward sentence. Like, realistically, this is a first draft. We all know that, and I'm not casting any shade on Jessica because I think she did a really excellent job. But there are little places like this where it's like, whoa, wait, I get thrown out of the flow of the document. Like, what was meant? This is not one of them for me, but I understand why it would be for other people. So if we can tighten it up, great. But as Christopher said, we're never going to have to go before, the state Supreme Court and be like, what happened in this inclusivity meeting? My sister's an attorney. I don't want to go there.
sort of goes to the notes that I took down. I didn't have anything really specific, but one of the things that I appreciate about how the city does the strategic plan is that sort of revisiting it every year and having sort of like reviewing specifically what I was looking at is like our objectives in practice, like what we're trying to do. Like some of the things on here are things that have been done for quite some time, like creating a calendar and reaching out to groups and finding, sort of commonality and things like that. So using this as a sort of yearly roadmap for what the committee wants to do, as like one of the things on our agenda for today is to look at the next couple of years and think about what we want to do with the calendar. And so this is sort of tied to that, where just kind of cleaning it up and using it as a thing to review every now and then, but not necessarily.
I would love for us to be able to move on from this, because it seems like we spent way too much time discussing this, and I'm happy to let it go. It's just a word, and I understand the meaning, and I think we should just accept it and move on, unless somebody has. And I don't mean to speak for everybody.
The suggestion is to change the first mission to fostering a safe space where learning, growing, and sharing can occur.
Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion.
Great.
It sounds fine.
Yes.
It reads a little better than the current blank and blank and blank, which is just like my English teacher from high school would have my head.
I like that.
Can I hear it one more time? Sorry.
fostering a safe space where learning, growing, and sharing can occur.
Beautiful.
I'm gonna go knock on the wall at this rate.
Just for the minutes, is there consensus on that?
Yeah,
Everybody's kind of saying, yeah, but I just want to make sure. Yep,
Yep.
yep,
Yep.
okay.
great.
It will be reflected, so in the minutes.
Beautiful.
Love that for us.
Are there any other pieces of, so just for clarification, this is, I think I printed out the whole thing, but basically everything from page, like, not within that mission and objectives and practice, like, those are kind of the two things that we're talking about. The rest of it is more of the official, like, kind of echoing what was in the municipal code, and we're just waiting to hear back on the terminology on those things. But if there's anything in those first two headers that anyone has thoughts on.
I think this is a valuable resource, and I appreciate Jessica working on it. And
Indeed.
I think this probably fills the need.
Yeah. Well, then, once we hear back about the actual legality stuff, we can finish this up and
Yeah.
revisit it, unless you have.
Well, I was just gonna say for the objectives and practice piece, the number like A1, I just feel like we haven't really, we like did a tiny bit of that, and then we have never really.
Well, that was one of the things is, like, I have not been, like, we've not done any of that really since I've been here.
Yeah.
And I don't know if any of that had been done.
We did a tiny
before.
bit, but I guess it's just specifically I think I'm concerned about A1B. Just because of the, like, would that slow everything that the city council wants to do down like at least a month?
I think it would be, and I mostly read it from a template, or not necessarily like individual documents coming through, but like more sort of general practice sort of thing. So like, if, for example, there's XYZ form to do XYZ thing,
Okay.
We decide, okay,
Yeah.
this month we're gonna review Form A, B, to see if the language is, but I know a lot of that stuff, there's nothing we could do as a committee, but it's something we could take higher if there was language that someone, because that's the thing is, like, I mean, there's language all through like state law that is just quietly.
Oh yeah,
but I don't know how big, like, what this was meant to be. If it's meant to like look at.
I think we've made progress on gender neutral references instead of he shall do this, they, or whatever term we use to make it just more general. And I think we've made big steps in that way. I think there's some other, like the code, that my understanding is that we have to have a vote of the people to change that. It is old stuff, and there are some things in there that would not follow that, but we can't just change it.
Yeah.
City council can't change it.
But
so
just reading this, having not been here when this was created, my assumption would be that if we reviewed that and saw something that raised a red flag, or a medium orange flag or whatnot, we could draw attention to that and say, hey, we don't really have the power to do this, but as the committee, we've noticed this and want to sort of move that to somebody or draw attention to it, because no one else is necessarily reading that. is how I read that, but
Sure.
we've not done any of that since I've been here.
I guess with my mayor hat on, one thing that comes to mind that would actually be like really helpful, like I don't know if this committee should be like going through like changing the specific wording of like operational documents. Like I think we could recommend that like documents should be gender neutral, but like I don't want us going through like cross out this word, replace it with that kind of thing. Right. But I think where I read that, and I would be interested to hear Chris's thought too, is like even like next year when we do like a strategic plan update of just like when we're sort of halfway through the strategic plan update, like have an inclusivity committee meeting where we like go over that, and then in the same way that like the park advisory board gives like their priorities for the year, the council could choose whether or not to incorporate thoughts from the inclusivity committee. Like we talked about in city council about trying to make the parks more like ADA accessible or doing those kind of things, which might be more of like an inclusivity committee thing too, where it's like, okay, we heard from the park advisory board and the inclusivity committee and something about this thing, so like that's something for us to keep in mind. Where I feel like that would actually be really helpful, maybe more so than like going through individual documents and trying to tweak them. But Chris, does that seem fair?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot more doable, right? Yeah. I mean, as documents are being reviewed by the council or by the subcommittees, that the inclusivity committee could review them as well. I don't want to be too presumptuous that the inclusivity committee can do that work better
than
the consultant we've hired, or even your city staff, frankly, that are trained to be gender neutral and write documents professionally. So, but to review it and look at not just the gender neutral things, but there's other aspects from an inclusivity viewpoint or lens that transportation committee may not be thinking through, right? So that's good. But as documents come up, it makes a lot more sense than just, hey, let's get a committee to just look through everything. That's going to be boring for one, and you're just going to burn out. And I just don't know that's going to be very relevant, right?
Yeah. So. Yeah. Well, I know. I mean, because we kind of like started down that road like a couple years ago, and I feel like Jessica and I like sat there for a little bit, and we were like, well. And I think we like tweaked like 2 little things or something, but we're not quite like the state government where there's like a bunch of like just stuff that got stuck in there in 1892 that no one ever looked at since then.
You mean all the stuff about how like I think it was like women couldn't own land in certain cities in Oregon. Yeah, no, it's like, oh Lord. It's like technically this is no longer constitutional, but it's still there.
Right.
Zena, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I still think throughout Benton County and Oregon in general, if you do look, there are still lots of municipal codes. It's not like we're a sundown town, but I mean, there's lots of coding throughout Benton County around redlining and things like that. And I know Corvallis went back through and were like, this is not who we are. When some people looked at everything. So I think I really like what people are saying, but then also maybe being aware if like a historian comes in or somebody's mapping and finds something in the code like that, that we can we can make better.
I've known code for 10 years, and I'd be hard pressed to find anything in there that's race related or I mean, there's layers, right? But there's nothing blatant in there. It's been updated multiple times, I guess, as well. It's not like it's a stagnant document that sits there. It gets updated every 5 to 10 years, and so it evolves and new language gets put in there, and
so maybe to go back to Chris's point and circle around, it could be review as needed. So that when things come up, instead of having it be like, oh, and you have to create the separate subcommittee to read all of the city code, and because that's very silly and not a good use of time. But on an as-needed basis, as things like the strategic plan are getting updated, having the inclusivity committee have a voice on that would be smart.
It's a good rule that your city council members could do, right? Because they know it's coming from the council.
That's what I was thinking.
feel like there's
There's
something
three of us on
appropriate.
this committee that are on the council, and if we can keep that forefront in our mind, so that if we run across something as it pops up, we just speak to it. And yeah, I don't think it's practical or in our best interest to try to review every document, but we can certainly advocate for
But
better language.
I do like the idea of just like every February meeting of this committee or something, we just go over like, hey, here's where the city council's at on the strategic planning process. Anything you guys want to chime in on before we bring it back in April? And then, I mean, because that's what we do with the Public Works Committee and the Police Committee and Parks Advisory Board. And then that doesn't mean we adopt every single thing that everyone wants, but we can at least be like, okay, this is good to know that this was, you know, these are the top 3 things that the Inclusivity Committee thought. We can't do all 3 of them this year, but we could at least do this one kind of thing, whereas I feel like we don't even get any of that right now.
Yeah.
So,
And I mean, if we're talking about doing, you know, this will be a discussion, but if like in January, we look at our objectives and practice as our sort of like not so official, like mini strategic plan for the committee, and we're thinking about, okay, we know we want to do something where we've got sort of a broad idea of things that we're thinking about for the year. Then in February, if we look at the strategic plan and we're like, oh, this thing we talked about in January fits well here, or this, so it sort of feeds nicely
Yeah.
to that.
And if other committees are already being asked by the strategic plan and asked to give input, it makes sense that like the inclusivity committee should be asked as well.
yeah, and I guess I should clarify, like the other committees don't give input on the entire strategic
Out of
plan.
respect, I have been on the police committee for 2.5 years, and I've never,
Oh, well,
to my knowledge.
I've never been on the police committee.
Just saying.
The
Never missed it, but
I think we came to the police committee when we were looking to add an officer. We went to the police committee first and kind of made the case like,
yeah, sure.
here's where we're at with whatever, and then the police
not
committee
the whole
reviewed it. and
plan.
then-
Right. And so I guess that's part of it. We figure out how that would work best with this, but like the, you know, the park advisory board will review the parks and the
Yeah.
strategic plan, and the public works committee will review the like capital improvements, and so that kind of thing.
Yeah, there's a whole section on good governance
Right.
and whatever that seems very relevant to the work that
Yeah,
we're
I
doing.
mean, if there's something in the strategic plan about like city events or anything,
Yeah,
like,
right,
that would
right.
be probably where we would
Totally.
fit in.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because,
yeah,
yeah, since a large piece of this is accessibility
Right.
and making sure the entire community has a voice and has the ability to participate if they want to, I think that fits the mission.
Yeah, totally.
Right. So we'll wait to hear back from city on language for the rest of this. Get the edits made to this and then have a final document to approve and upload to the website for all to see.
Huzzah.
Real shout out to Jessica on this one.
Yeah,
True.
Christopher. Yeah.
Awesome.
Heavy lift.
And you have to hear it all.
I know.
Yeah.
Tell you to read the minutes.
All right, get back to the top of my page here. All right, I am going to give some event updates. Since Rose is not here, I will do both of them. So we have a Philomath Pride update somewhere here. Basically, we had our first public meeting for volunteer recruitment and sort of information giving. Christopher attended. It was great. We got a few new folks volunteering this year, which is awesome. Still looking for people. I know a couple of folks have talked to Rose or I in person about volunteering, but if there's anyone in the room or watching online who wants to get involved, you can reach out to me or just send us an email at philomathpride@gmail.com or message us on Instagram and we can send you the volunteer sign up form and kind of get you in your rotation for our meetings. We're trying to meet twice a month, if possible, for planning up until June. The event is on June 28th. So that is where we're at for that. And then May 10th, we have a Philomath Fellowship meeting. So it's the third Thursday, I think, of May, maybe the second. I don't know how to count.
I think it's the second.
Second, whatever, May 10th.
That's a Saturday.
Is it?
May 10th is a
I
Saturday.
was gonna say, I also think it's a
'Cause I'm-
Saturday, but I could be wrong.
But I was sad because I put it on my calendar and I was like, oh, I already have something
What
that day.
am I
Do you
could
need
have
a
sworn it
calendar?
was the 10th.
Girl, do you need a calendar?
No,
13th, maybe the second.
maybe I'm just bad at days.
There's a calendar.
Is it
This
Tuesday?
is why Rose is supposed to do this and not me, because she does this. I think it must be the 15th. Oh, it is the 15th.
Okay.
I have it in my calendar. Let me scratch that and say it is May 15th, which is a Thursday.
Still at 6 p.m. though.
Still at 6 p.m. at the Philomath Museum in the Moreland Room.
Yeah.
There will be snacks, and I am going to share some kind of story. I haven't decided yet
Okay.
what it's going to be, but I'm on the docket for that.
Is there going to be a flyer this time?
I think so. I will poke Rose and see what the plan is, but yes, and we're trying to get folks to bring friends and spread the word. So once I have a flyer, I'll check in with her and see if she has one made, and if not, we'll get one made and send that out by email to everybody. But it's gonna be a
I
good
think the
time.
one that she made for the second meeting could work, just change the date.
What was that?
The flyer for the second time.
Oh, probably, yeah, just change the date on it.
I think that.
Yeah, I think she has the file, so I will check in with her on that. Then, place over here.
Can I throw in something weird and different?
Of course.
I'll try to make it
nothing
fast.
less.
May 10th is why it rang a bell. The post office nationally does a food drive, and we are going to do that here. In some, the post workers pick up all the food. Did I tell you this already? Okay, they pick up all the food, but ours are not able to do that, so we're gonna get a team of volunteers to go and pick up food, take it to PCS. We're thinking it should be a semi-large food drive, and so we'll be looking at volunteers. And that's May 10th, which is less than a month away. But
Would it be like morning?
10 to 2-ish is what we're looking at for, and any time of that time. But we also would be looking for people that might live in Lodgett or Kings Valley, because the rural postal workers have agreed to pick the food up themselves. But when their truck is full, they need somebody to drive out and meet them and get the food out of their truck. So, and I think I might have a handle on a 4-H group that might be doing that, but willing to do that. But if any of you want to do that, that'd be great.
And just have folks reach out to you for that?
Teresa Nielsen and I are working on this with the post office and PCS, Sharon, PCS.
Do you have a flyer for that one already?
We don't, we've been kind of waiting for the PC, the good news, I mean, this is what's really great news, is the Postal Workers Union has agreed to sponsor it, so they're making their own postcards that they're going to pass out to everybody. Otherwise, we're gonna have to not only print, but we'd have to pay postage for it, and since they're sponsoring it for us, they're doing it. So, we were kind of waiting for artwork. There's some stuff online. I actually made a social media post about it, I think, and so I'll try to pass that along.
We got the city newsletters going out early next week.
I'll make something up.
Is it on your personal social media post?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just go there and,
Well, it's a little video from the national thing, but there's artwork on that site, I think, so I'll send something. Yes, because that would be great to get that out.
You'd save a step and send it to Crystal.
Yes, and then, March 3rd, I believe it is, that's when the postal workers will be passing out the postcards or mailing them to each address in our mail area. So we'll get some. Yes.
If you see your postal worker, just thank them because they're just doing an amazing job. Just wanted to say thank you all, postal workers.
So I never see them.
I run into mine quite a bit, and the job that they do, it's amazing. And
I was off subject, sorry, but
That's awesome. Thank you for the update. See, that's why I chose the wrong date, because I wanted to just segue you into a very natural movement.
it's a.
I planned that. Okay, so the next item on our agenda is do a little discussion about switching up what we're doing for National Hispanic and Latino Heritage Month in September. So we usually do a social media post and I think a proclamation. We do have a banner for it as well. But there was some discussion. A couple of folks came up to me individually, and then Chris and I also talked a little bit about perhaps doing an event instead or in addition to, depending on what the capacity of the committee is, in September. Some of the ideas that folks have discussed are something sort of, we do a lot of educational talks and outreach. We thought maybe it would be a fun idea to do some sort of festival, not like a party with food and music, and depending on the weather, it's going to be September, so it's hard to say. We could do it at the high school or do it somewhere, like find a venue for that, but just sort of something to build community and have just a little bit of fun while we're supporting and
Throwing out an idea.
yeah.
Teresa Nielsen has been in contact with a Hispanic dance troupe, and we would have to book them plenty in advance because they're in high demand. But if we are thinking and working ahead enough, maybe, and I was even thinking maybe the Frolic, I don't know what it's really called, just the beer garden. I don't know what it's really called. State. And that's where they have the chili cook-off. And if we can contact some restaurants that might be willing to come and bring some food to sell. I don't know if there's other ways around that, but that might be the beginning of some sort of a party.
Yeah.
Celebration.
I mean, it would be.
But again, we have to think 6 months in advance.
Yeah. Which is got a little bit of time. Yeah, that's why we're talking about it, so that we could, if we decide to move forward with something like this, trying to think about size, cost, time, all of the above.
I like it. I love it.
I definitely think it's great if we have more joyful events. And we can obviously partner with, lots of networking in our community for that. So I think we need to have more celebrations, even though that's more work.
I don't know if the
I heard a little bit about the idea of having a party because I couldn't attend last time, but I think Rose brother, and I was getting carried away because I love parties and I tried the food from the one by the gas station.
Oh, is theirs?
Yes, and I was like, yeah, you can have a party around that. But I do have one concern, and it's that if I don't know how comfortable the community would be in attending, a public event and being in one place, and so I think that part of the job of having such an event would be to make them feel comfortable and welcome in the community and just part of the community. And this is a more general concern about how do you do something like that, because is it for that community in particular, or is it for the whole community to recognize um, a relationship to Hispanic and Latino communities? And I would like it to be in that spirit, and and think of the as neighbors in both senses. But I am a little bit concerned about if they will be comfortable.
Yeah.
I've heard that they are avoiding situations like.
It definitely does not feel like a particularly safe time to be someone who is physically, Latino. And I definitely feel that. And I've heard friends talk about it as well. So the question of how do we do something that is celebratory given the current political climate is a good one. And I don't have an answer.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely, in the conversations that I've had about this and, thinking about it, the number one goal is to not have this be basically glorified Cinco de Mayo, where it's just an excuse to put on a, sombrero and eat food. That is absolutely the opposite of what, I'm not sure, because it's supposed to be, in the events that we've done like this, and I guess I can use Pride as an example because I'm so, closely tied to it. So we throw this event to bring people to the event, to build community amongst ourselves. And then it's broadly open to the public because we want other people to come and be like, look at all these people who are not scary at all and are not infringing on our rights. They are just existing. And it's so but it ultimately is a celebration with education mixed in, right? Because we have tables for different community organizations, so we're passing on information, and there's an exchange of community building, and so that's sort of what I want, but I can see how if it's not being organized by the group who's being represented, I feel like that is
the saying "nothing about us without us" comes to mind. I think for the first year doing this, especially considering everything, maybe not a party, but what we did for Black History Month was really cool. And I know that there's a lot of Latino history in and around Philomath because it's a big farming community, timber community. Maybe doing something as simple as having a small event just to kind of be hey, look, the focus is on teaching people about how we are part of the community. We have always been part of the community. Having some kind of treat or snack or something, so it's still joyful, but the focus, at least for the first year, is on education. And I think the lift on that might be a little bit smaller too than trying to plan a giant party.
I agree, for the safety. Safety does make me nervous.
It's also, I thought it was also a good idea, but maybe not around some ethnicity or some.
It's hard, yeah.
I mean,
part of the community, but it would be a community for everyone. I mean, a part
Yeah.
for everyone.
I grew up in a place that had a large Hispanic population. Something like 70% of people my age speaking Spanish as a first language. So, and my family is, but part of my family is from Mexico. So it's like, okay. I was used to, the town that I grew up in had a really big celebration for Mexican Independence Day, which is in September 16th. It was open to everybody. Basically, it was a carnival, but part of it was like teaching people like about the history of Mexico and why Mexican independence was important, even though, you know, yeah, we live in the US. I always loved it. I thought that was really cool. It was open to everyone. There was also another big one for Dia de los Muertos, which was again trying to teach people about like what is the deal behind this holiday? Like, oh, it's Halloween. No, it's not.
I think that Dia de los Muertos is way more festive, or it's different, but it's festive.
Yeah.
So that could be another opportunity for a party. Is what I mean.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
But I was just going to say, like, I think like for those events in particular, they were always planned by the city in conjunction with, there were like different groups that were focused on addressing like needs within the community. So making sure that there were like access to Spanish language. Oh dear.
She's leaving early. She's all right.
She's having a hard time with pain. But it wasn't just the city. It was always the city in conjunction with like other groups that were like looking at this and going, okay, well, how can we bring people together? How can we make the focus something that is fun and that is safe for everybody, so that people in the community feel visible and it's very much like a pride event, like you are proud of where you come from, but that it's not just like somber, like okay, and now we all have to learn this horrible thing or whatever. So if there are, like, again, for this year, it feels like that's going to be a huge lift. But I know that there are groups like in Benton County that focus on things like how we help and support our Hispanic neighbors. I'm trying to think, I'm totally blanking on the name of one of them. And I know it's come up in a previous inclusivity meeting. But it's like, what's their take on this? And what do members from that group like see as what is needed right now? And, you know, if we do want to do a party, how can we coordinate with them to kind of make it safe and make it approachable for everybody?
I might suggest, I think if we want to do something, a good first action might be to do some outreach and start talking to these other organizations, because I think if we try to plan the party, right? I mean, we've got some knowledge here and some good base and everything, but I think really it's about reaching out and inviting. If we put a soft date on the calendar and said, hey, we're thinking of doing an event in September, the 16th is, you know, Independence Day in Mexico, so in and around, or the 16th, school has just started, so, you know, everybody's kind of back into school, back in there, kind of having the carnival for PYC is about then, so we want to make sure we're not doing it the same night that they're doing their carnival or
But
anything.
most importantly, my birthday is also right. So
Mayor's birthday.
not enough reason to have a street party. No, I'm kidding.
But I think if we do some outreach, so there's lots of organizations that do focus in on education and celebration and cultural awareness of Latino nationality. So I think that if we contact those groups, say, hey, what are you looking for September? Maybe they have other engagements already, we put around there, but maybe we pick a date or two and see who we can invite, who's interested. And then we're just collaborating those groups, you know, because I could foresee, I know Vicente and his group, they do the horses and the lassos and the parade at the frolic every year. I mean, there's a contact there. I know there's a group on campus that does stuff. My wife teaches the Spanish class at the high school. She's had several different people, individuals and groups that have come and, you know, helped with cooking or helped with, you know, giving stories and all different things. And she's made a lot of different contacts there in the community. People have come into the classroom and been willing to talk to the students, not speaking Spanish, but talking about the culture, right? And celebrating the culture with them. So it might be a good first outreach, see what organizations there. We could generate that list or just individually do some outreach and then come back. And if we could just collaborate those efforts, I mean, we can get the facility easy enough. I mean, City Park, rodeo grounds, I mean, they're all viable. The city could cover the insurance for the event itself. We could do that
As long as there's no bounce houses.
No bounce houses, but other than bounce houses, okay?
Ruin my fun.
Yeah.
So, or trampolines.
The only reason I
Trampolines fall under bounce houses. So, I mean, I don't think it would be a huge, I mean, there's always a lift, but if we can get, you know, I could foresee maybe some of our local restaurants would do some food, maybe, you know, do a bunch of tamales or do a bunch of tacos or traditional things and do that at, you know, they don't have to be free, right? Like people just come and bring some money and buy some dinner and maybe some stuff is free and some stuff isn't free and do some real cultural deals. And I think leading up to it, there's opportunities to do educational bits in the invitations, right? So you tell a little bit about it as you're inviting people to come and celebrate. And when you get there, there's plenty of room for storyboards and information and presentations. I'm envisioning it at the rodeo grounds because there's a stage there. You could have performances. You could have all kinds of different things, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, the only thing that I see of real note, aside from the city council meeting on September 8th, is the chili cook-off on the 7th. So we can't do it on that day. But there's nothing else quite yet, at least publicly
be
scheduled.
the 13th or the
Wait, it's on the chili cook-off's on the 7th?
Yep, it's on a Sunday.
It's always
It's always on a
the
Sunday.
first Sunday in September, isn't it?
I would have it on the
Should be a
second.
national holiday.
they bumped it a week. It
Okay.
used to be the first.
Okay, I was gonna say, cause cause last year I missed it. Because I thought it was the first and it was the second. So now I made sure to put it on the second this year. Can't win.
But yeah, so any,
Okay.
And I'm hearing party. I'm hearing invite others that are interested in presenting, performing, being a part of it, planning. And if we just kind of, as I think this group could just kind of facilitate and schedule and promote. And these events always are a little bit of a time suck, but it'll be easier now. There'll be bathrooms at the rodeo grounds. Like I said, the stage is there. The fee's going to be nominal. I mean, you know, we could use some of our educational funds to help pay offset some of the expenses that we might have. And I don't think we're talking about like, you know, buying drinks and food for everybody. I think we're just talking about hosting and inviting everybody else to come and share and celebrate. And
Yeah.
my experience with those types of events is people are more than willing to show up and pay for their dinner, pay for beer, pay for whatever. They just want a place to go and hang out. And if there's entertainment and things going on, they're going to come, right? So it's those don't usually have to have a big expense to them. If you've got music and especially live music, but even other music, I mean, people will show up. If you got food and music, entertainment, educational components.
awesome. So it looks like we've got potentially the 13th and the 20th, or 2 Saturdays
Totally
in
agree.
September that I don't see anything on the calendar.
Great.
So we could either do, I mean, we can see what folks have available and sort of maybe choose a time window based on what we're hearing back. So is there anyone that wants to sort of I don't want to say take the lead because that will lead to somebody doing a lot of work.
Take point, at least.
But yeah, to at least, so in the past, what we've done, like, so for the Black History Month event, we had a committee of 3, well, committee's not the right word, but we had a planning group of 3 to stay under quorum, and then folks that weren't, like, for lack of a better term, like the official committee members. Well, we're still getting language on that, but those folks were able to join as well, in addition to those 3 folks, to get more, like, help with the event. But there can only be 3 actual committee members who are meeting all at the same time. And so I guess the first step, it sounds like, is to kind of gather a list of the folks that could be reached out to start doing some outreach as far as who's interested in what resources that they can put towards this. So if anybody feels particularly moved to help with this, I can't help. I'm knee deep in pride, so I'm at least until that's a little more solidified. I can't do much on this, but I can certainly help.
Well, I do feel moved.
What?
Yeah, but I do not, I'm not familiar with many organizations.
Sure.
But, I know a couple people that are, who could reach out.
We can help you with that.
Okay.
And I mean, again, just the history here around rodeo and vaqueros, it's amazing. So there's lots. I'm sure Mr. Workman will be a great resource to connect with. Yeah.
Yeah, let's put on the agenda for next month, and let's come back and I'll report on organizations we've been able to reach out to, and if they've got a preferred on the date, if they've got, some expenses that might be there. Some of them might charge a little fee to come and participate, what they could bring to the table, food, music, entertainment,
Are those
education.
folks you're going to reach out to?
I think everybody reach
Oh,
out.
okay. Yeah.
Everybody wants to reach out to folks. So, I mean, I've got probably half a dozen contacts, and my wife's probably got another dozen or so. But
Look at that. 18.
we'll reach out to. I don't know that all will be available or interested, but you just start with, we're going to throw a party. Do you want to come?
Right.
What are you going to bring?
It's a potluck, but you have to bring your services.
Yeah. You have to bring your live music and entertainment.
There's a
And-
lot of.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to say too that I think what makes it important too is like again with Black History Month, and yeah, we live in really scary times, but to acknowledge that this is our community. And I mean, I would hope that people come out just like for Black History or for any of the other events, and just know that most likely you're going to be by a city council member or the mayor, and feel some, I mean, yeah, as much as anybody can these days. I don't think that that's who we are as a community.
I think that's. I never want to not do something because people don't want you to do it. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, then they win, right?
Yeah.
It's just very much like, is this something that is needed right now, or is this like something where it's like it might be nice in the future? But talking to other organizations about like where are people at, what do people want to see, is a great first step, and will definitely help inform what we do.
Yeah, because if we hear back, this is a terrible idea, don't do it. We'll just noted.
Or
do
if we hear
something
back
else.
and it's like, okay, this could be a good idea, but we have concerns about X, Y, and Z, then we can do what we can to like allay those and still make it happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, just like X, Y, and Z, just placeholders. Like, if they're like, oh, well, we would like to come, but we're concerned, like, if we have this many people in one place, like, we're afraid, like, that it might be a target for whatever, like, weird protests or something, right? Like, so we could say, here's what we were planning on doing. We'll have event security or whatever. Or like, how are you going to address the fact that it's in September and it might rain? Well, here's what we will do,
Yeah. Info gathering is a good first step. A good first step. Okay. So homework on that item is that everybody is going to reach out to all 37 contacts that we know individually, and then we'll do another report out on this for next month. See where we're at, and if it's the best idea or the worst idea.
And we're thinking the 13th or the 20th.
Yes. Okay. And the time frame of that will be sort of depend on. Folks are available, but maybe not in the evening. Maybe we do like a day thing or vice versa or like that. Great. Awesome. Okay, so we will talk about that in May. I almost said June and then had a panic attack.
No, May.
But it's May.
Got another month.
Got another month. Okay. So I don't think we're gonna have time to work on filling out the calendar. We can move that to next month as well. And there's something that comes before this. I'm looking at this right now. But Crystal did take our Excel sheet calendar and sort of zhuzhed it up for us, added some little identification keys to let us know what we had planned, what we have banners for. So next month we can kind of talk about what banners we have, what banners we need, and sort of plan how that looks for the upcoming years so that Diane and Zena can kind of come up with a plan between the two of them and have an idea of the timing on what that looks like instead of scrambling. So I have all of the information for that and we can dig into that next month. I did want to, before we run out of time today, talk about the social media post for next month, which is the National Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month social media post. So in the packet, there's an image, but there should be text with it as well. No, so I found it, and I'm gonna read it. So this was written last year. I believe Rose wrote it, and I don't believe it was posted because I could not find it on Facebook. I think that the Holocaust Remembrance Day post that was written got posted instead, based on my detective, because I think there was.
You like messed up the month.
I think so. Yeah. So we have text that Rose wrote, and so I'm proposing that I'll read it since it's not in the packet, and we can decide whether or not we want to use it for this year's post. And I clarified with Crystal what her preference is for getting that information to her, so that things are making it to her and then also getting posted, and we can track how that's happening. So I'm going to read this text, and then if people love it, we will approve it, and if they don't, then we can edit it, I suppose. Well, we'll have to talk to Rose, but okay. So this was the draft from last year. We're going to potentially post this year. The term AAPI includes 75 countries from the Asian continent, East, Southeast, and South Asia, as well as the Pacific islands of Melanesia, Micronesia, and Polynesia. AAPI month celebrates the diverse culture that spans from countries such as Japan, Korea, Indonesia, Laos, the Philippines, China, Singapore, Samoa, Thailand, Taiwan, Vietnam, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Nepal, just to name a few. Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month is observed annually in May to celebrate the contributions that generations have made to American history, society, and culture. The theme, we'll have to change this. The theme for the 2024 AAPI Heritage Month is Advancing Leaders Through Innovation. And then there were some links directly to a few websites. The month encapsulates more than celebrating the richness of AAPI diverse cultures. It is also meant to hold space for the stories of those who identify as AAPI, to break down barriers that might hinder us from truly knowing each other and caring for each other in the best way possible. We must strive to advance the multiracial movement for equity, and justice by building power for our communities, working in solidarity and advocating for comprehensive solutions that tackle the root causes of race-based hate. Visit stopaapihate.org to find out more.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
So the only thing I will change out, there were a few different links to specific pages that had to do with the theme for last year's Heritage Month, which I assume is different this month. So I'll just change that out and double check with Rose, since she's the one who wrote this last year. That's the text that would accompany the image that's in the packet. Beautiful.
I think there's I might be wrong. I feel like there's a group on campus that's like a Pacific Islander social group.
Yeah,
club.
there's cultural
is.
centers.
They do dances and different things.
Yeah.
So I'm just to like hyper localize it to if they've got a Facebook page or something like that, maybe to add that in there is like another like very local place if people are interested or kind of don't know where to go. I mean, I think the one is good on the, preventing hate and all of that, but it's kind of a little bit of a negative to it. And so if you add that and kind of couple it with,
I think that I'm trying to
a little more local.
Yeah, the website that she did include was from the barometer earlier up. So there is a local one, but I do know that I think all of the cultural centers have websites, so we can include that as well. Zena, did you have a comment?
Oh, I was just gonna say there's like even through, so yeah, the cultural centers, but there's also like an Asian food garden, and there's a bunch of other connections that we can use to make it kind of, again, more what Chris said. I got distracted. The train just went by, so.
Must be almost 8 o'clock. I guess it's not. I'm jumping ahead quite a bit.
No, it runs whenever it wants to run.
So
It's almost 7.
I will make a few changes to that and run them by Rose, but nothing like super like structurally changed, and then drop it in our inclusivity committee folder and let Crystal take it.
Sounds good.
Great. Okay, so we're gonna bump the social media calendar and other calendar to next month. The other thing on our list was to someone to volunteer to write a Pride post for June that we can review at next month's meeting. I'm happy to do that since we're doing that for
You're doing it for
Pride anyway.
Yeah.
And then, is there anything aside from the event and the inclusivity committee calendar that folks want to talk about next month? Any agenda topics burning in people's cortex was the word that which is right?
That's nice.
I know.
Yeah.
Don't know what's going on. Yeah.
And you worked all day. That's what's going on.
But if anyone has suggestions or I want them.
If we think of suggestions after the meeting, we should email you by no later than May 15th.
That is correct. Earlier, if possible.
Okay.
Yes. Crystal and I had a very productive conversation about how best to build an agenda.
Oh, good.
It was very helpful. She is a just incredible human being. We are lucky to have her. which I have told her 72 billion times. Do it.
Well, what's one more then? Thank you.
One more. Just send her a text like, hey, just so you know.
I appreciate you.
I do appreciate her.
I'm gonna hire the best around here.
It's true. Yeah, I'm a huge fan. She's very, very helpful. So we have a shared folder now that I have access to. I can just drop things in for her to peruse, and she can drop things in for me to peruse, and
It's a good time.
we've really come into the 21st century. Yeah. Okay, well, if anyone has any agenda requests or something pops into your mind between now and the 15th, you have my email or phone number or however, you know, where I'm at.
Oh, Chris, did you want to have a shout out for the rodeo?
Not yet, it's still early.
Okay, I mean, I just saw the new sign and I was like, don't get it down on people's calendars early, folks.
July 10th, 11th, and 12th, since you asked.
There you go.
Frolic and
And it
rodeo.
literally links into every other event that we do in our community too, from Black History to everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, July 10th, 11th, 12th, all the construction should be done by the end of June. And so the rodeo is going to be very, very busy. Those volunteers are going to be working hard in June, July to get it all ready to go. But we keep telling ourselves it'll be ready.
If you guys
And we
build
are
it, we'll.
doing since you did ask, we're adding another event. One of the things about adding the grandstands was to try to attract additional events. So we're actually doing a second rodeo in August that's going to be just bulls, just a bull riding only event with the after party. So if your favorite thing about the frolic is watching the bull riders and the party afterwards, then this is like the perfect event for you.
Oh my
It's a
gosh.
Challenge of Champions. It's a tour that circuits all over the West Coast. And we got on their calendar for this year as a stop. So they bring all of the professional bull riders, all of the bulls. They rent the facility and we put on the party afterwards. So it should be a lot of fun. Not like the frolic, but definitely a very like cowboy bull riding kind of centric, a little more adult focused. The frolic is, you know, very family focused and community building. This is kind of more like a big cowboy party. So a little different, but should be fun.
Big cowboy party.
Big cowboy party.
You heard it here first, folks. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all so much for coming and chatting and sharing your ideas. And yeah, you know where to reach me if you want to chat. Otherwise, see you in May.
Thank you, Zena.
Have a
Thank you,
good
Jenna.
evening.
Have a good night.